Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to my video about moving even deeper into self-love. As you know, last week I posted a video on self-love, which started with the basics and embracing ourselves and our physical appearance and our bodies, and how our soul is individualizedly in an individualized way expressing itself in our bodily form. In this video, because I feel it's important, it's the holiday season, it's time to go even deeper within in our self-love, not just externally. And sometimes, whatever we think about, that still represents the holiday spirit. In fact, let this year be more about turning that inwardly, towards us, towards ourselves, going even deeper into the journey of self-love, which is infinite and always expanding. So it's really important to go deeper, because this chapter, when we start to really embrace ourselves, we'll begin to reveal all that is not of our true source nature, which is just to infinitely and creatively and expansively always manifest and express itself in human form. What was happening before with so many of us and in times past in this history, especially on this planet, was a lot of self-sabotage, was a lot of self-programming, was a lot of limited self-beliefs. And just recently we began to tap on this beautiful journey of self-love. And again, I feel we just began to scratch the surface, because there's so much still there. A journey of self-love is something that, as in the words of journey itself, mean that it's a journey, it's a travel, it's an experience. It's never something where we fully arrive at and finally we're manifest at, and finally we arrive and this is home. The thing is that each chapter of us embracing our self-love and deep acceptance and compassion, it will open us to a new level. And again, we'll have that feeling, ooh, haven't we done enough work already? Ooh, when does our inner blossoming ever end? And there's a lot of people asking themselves these questions. And we forget that aspect of creation, which is always expanding, it's always infinite, and that is why there is such thing as growth and expansion in an infinite nature of creation. So a lot of times we like to always think of ourselves as have a goal. My goal is to love myself. Okay, what does it really mean to love ourselves? On each level of our awareness, self-love will mean something different. Maybe the first beginner level is just to accept yourself. Accept yourself in this body. Then new patterns will come up. Ooh, something new to resolve, moving even deeper. A lot of the times I notice people say things to themselves that are continuously feeding their awareness on a certain level. And because of that, because they become so attached to that story, they cannot move on to a new chapter and create as a new expanded version of themselves. This is what the journey of self-love is all about. It's infinite. As much as you go deep into your self-awareness, that's how much love will blossom, and vice versa. The more you are self-empowered, the more love grows, and vice versa. Love and power cannot coexist without each other. They're one. They're like intrinsically connected. So the more powerful of a being you are, the more love you have. It's not that you actually are powerful out of fear. That's not even power. That's a false sense of power. When you truly are powerful, when you become the magician of your life that can only expand and expand, and you begin to work with the aspect of love, which is creativity, and therefore it will be more and more of it. And on each chapter you might say to yourself, wow, I thought I already loved myself, and now I see I can love myself more. Wow. It's because your awareness is expanding. And each time a new level of awareness penetrates to our beingness, something new comes up. And there's things that we just really wish to set ourselves free from, or we no longer wish to repeat. Sometimes people say, well, how were you really into something maybe just yesterday and now you're not anymore? It's because we outgrow things. It's because we love ourselves even more. It's because sometimes we're just not willing to participate in old scenarios anymore, because we just love ourselves more. We embrace more of the source inside of us. We're always going to exist as a spark of source. Nothing really belongs to us, because we're a part of source. We're an individualized part. And yet, because we're always a part of it, we're always also the whole. We can tap into anything, and that's why the journey of self-love and expansion is infinite. And the more that things start to come up for us, the more we will start to really dissolve those things and move forward in a new way. So let's say we become really attached to a certain story of ourselves. We say, I am this way and I'm that way and this is how it is. And maybe we're just not open to the fact that maybe there's more. So there's a very important question that in this journey of infinite self-love through expansion of the soul, we need to ask ourselves is, can there, and am I willing that there can be more in my life experience, that there can be more to this reality? A lot of times we're fixated on something. There's a lot of dogmas here on this planet, and people who say this is how it is, period. And the moment we say this, our growth and expansion stops, because clearly we said, I'm only allowing to view source through this filter, and that's it. So a journey of self-love, because it's a journey, it will always bring us to new relations about the self. And of course, as our awareness expands, the perception of us as us expands, we invite more particles of who we are in light into ourself, into our being, therefore more love comes. And you know, when you actually start to expand in the body, a lot of us are actually beginning to to feel our souls not so much as here or somewhere that we commune with them. We feel them more in our bodies, and this is what I talk about, soul expansion in the body through soul embodiment. So we feel that we're getting more alive in the body. We're getting more life force in the body, and this is our soul that's becoming completely one with our bodies in the physical ascension journey. And because it's a journey, it happens through these beautiful layers and steps and revelations, and that's why a lot of contemplation and self-reflection is needed. It's a self-mastery journey. It is what it is. It's not so much a journey of external, constant feeding of that external. It's always a journey when you come back to you and you see where there's more and you're willing to expand into more. So let's say when we're fixated on a certain story, I'm going to take a few examples in this video as well and try to develop this theme through these examples. And let's say you're very convinced that you're a being that has certain limitations to a certain sensibility, or you function a certain way, and this is how it is. While this is true for you in this now moment, and it's beautiful that you accept that, it's also very important that you know that your sensitivity as you grow in power will not be felt in the same manner that what is felt in the now. And this can only take place when you fully embrace the fact that you're expanding, and the more powerful you get in your essence, the difference, there will be a difference in your being and how you perceive yourself and your reality. So when we say, I am just this way and that way, and we enclose ourselves in this space, we cannot see and we don't invite these other particles of us. So we're all here with a very specific attributes that are very dominant in our energy signature. For example, my main essence is always going to be power. I'm very powerful, and a lot of people who come across me notice this, and sometimes this scares people. But deep self-love and embracing is not feeling guilty for that power. Sometimes in my past, and sometimes this still comes up for me to reflect on, is can I still feel guilty when somebody doesn't present themselves in their physical embodiment as powerful as I am? We're all powerful beings. It's just that not everyone is carrying that essence in physical. Not everybody is that love in action yet through that experience. And in the past, I felt so strange, and I even felt guilty because I was so powerful and I didn't know how to be with people who are not yet carrying that power. And self-love means embracing your qualities, because when I am in this essence, I actually help those who are ready to embrace that aspect of divinity in themselves. Well, for example, somebody who's more soft or fluent and gentle also gives another that aspect to embody. So we're all kind of like showing ourselves through the attributes that we have embodied the most, this journey of self-love, and how much more we can embrace. So let's say I'm not just power. You know, you're not just a softness or vulnerability or grace. We're all those essences, because these essences don't really belong to us. They're divine in nature. And as we grow to love ourselves more and more, we just embody all of these essences. We don't choose and say, I am just this. We no longer filter reality and say, well, I am just this way or that way, because we start embracing more and more, and we allow it to come in our physical body. Also, this journey of self-love, when we're challenged by naysayers or negativity and all these things, we have to be aware that, again, it's not there to numb us down, it's there to challenge us in a way that we grow in our power. As we grow in our power, again, we grow into self-love, because it means that true power is not overriding somebody else with our power. It means staying in our power even though others might not agree, or they're not yet willing to embody so much of power, go along the way and travel on the same wave or the same wavelength. in general. It means that you stay for you without the need to dominate or control or override another, just by embracing yourself. This is true compassion. And seeing that everybody else has the same divine spark. So we're not responsible for their decisions and how they feel. We're responsible in staying true to ourselves and our divine soul's integrity. And this really means to embrace the self-love. And a lot of times we're giving our power away because we don't yet have such deep acceptance of our basic nature. And we feel guilty for it. Let's say you're very strong and somebody at that moment presents themselves as weak. Their reality in truth is not weak, but it's what they choose to embody at that time. So if you go play the guilty game, or somebody else plays the victim mode, it's always going to be the same, this game of these polarities. Well, instead, when you master self-love, you stay in that essence. And only from that space, you know the rule, you know, that they teach in the airplanes. First, an adult needs to put their gas mask on first. I mean, oxygen mask, gas mask, yeah, sure. And before you can put it on to a child. It same goes for ancient souls who guide other souls who are maybe for the first time experiencing, really opening up to the fact that they're completely divine, even in this physical experience. So first you need to take care of you. We need to take care of ourselves. As Ascension pioneers, sometimes we are overly giving in our nature, and this again is a part of our mastery, which again relates to mastering discernment. You know, to be discerning means to know what is really rightful for us, what is really us being of service, and what is us really just minding our own business, and the way to stay centered in our energy through self-love, not really dealing with how others will go through their own transformation. This is the saving and victim mode consciousness that we really don't need, because it creates unwanted karma and these bonds and attachments that are really not ours in the first place. When we know the very basic nature of Source, which is pure infinite love and expression, and all the infinite versions of that expression, we understand that in fact everything, every experience, every human experience, every being you meet, every, not just a human being, every animal, every plant, every organism, every cell has its own passageway, has its own journey. And it's all like moving out and moving back into Source, you know, infinity symbol. When we really know, not just with our minds, but when we feel that, the very basic nature of Source, then we really know how Source loves. And when we have that ability to love that way, that higher love, not that mind-based, projected, attached love, when we think we know for another, but we really don't, because that's their journey, not ours. And that love is just so pure, and because those who still plug in with the mind cannot comprehend it, and they always want to rationalize it and make sense of things, they're never really going to open to knowing more of that love, because that love just is. All these particles of creation, they're just moving in and out. They're having their own experience. They're doing their own dance, no matter what level of experience, what they're engaging to, what they don't want to engage into, if they want to expand or not. It all just is, and it all breathes out and breathes in back, you know. Contracts, expands, and this is what it is. This pure neutrality, this unconditional, pure divine love of Source. And when we have just one tiny fraction of that in our body, when we can embody that, then the whole world can be changed. But we're still dealing with so many things like, oh, you know, am I going to say the right things, the right person? Am I going to make the wrong choice? The mere fact of us thinking that way shows us that we don't yet have that full love, because when we do, we don't even doubt our decisions. We don't need to explain or defend ourselves. You know, a lot of times we're not in full self-acceptance. We start to get in this defensive mode. How about, you know, the aspects of us that we think they're of very nature, but they're not. Let's say, I've used these examples before. Let's say being polite. I need to be polite, or I need to be kind, or I need to be a good person to be in a way of ascension, or to be spiritually intact and in integrity. That's not true. Your true, very core spiritual nature is about being authentic, being your light, expressing that light in your uniqueness. It has a very unique travel path and navigation system. And when you think that that has anything to do with being a good person, and when you base your decisions on that, again, that's not self-love, because you're constantly filtering what a good person should be, when in fact there's not even a definition for it in true divine sense of that word. It doesn't exist. And let's say being kind, doing something because you think you need to be kind. It's not the same as giving from the heart when you're guided, when you feel. That's not conditional. Sometimes you feel something, sometimes you don't. You don't need to explain. Like, I'm going to give you one example. Recently, somebody wasn't really happy with the answer that I gave them. You know, it was this intimate matter. And when in fact, a while ago, they had their own experience when they had to say no to somebody, right? And I asked them the same question, because a lot of times when it deals with us, we don't want to embrace that truth. When it's about others, yeah, we can see it. But when it really hits the mark and target for us, we don't want to see it, you know, all the time, because we only see our own perspective. We don't want to make it wider. This, again, is self-love. When you focus so sharply within you, into the eye of the needle, then you also reverberate that seeing and divine vision out, and you'll also be able to see a grander picture. That's why it's so important to get clear in you. So through you, you are the portal to all. That's the thing. That is what self-love is about. It's not selfishness, that when you focus and zoom in so much into you that that's all you can see. It's because when you really do, not through selfishness and self-centeredness, but source-centeredness, then you will also have the deeper perspective on others. So in that example, what happened when I did, and I said my own words, I asked that person the same thing. I said, when you had to say no to that person, could you really explain why you feel the way you do? It has no logical reason. You just felt it, right? You couldn't give it a definition or description. You just felt so, and you said no. Then why you ask me the same question? You see? That's the thing. It's we really sometimes we want to push things, we want to control things, and we don't always embrace others and what they're saying, is because we are not yet centered in our self-love. We're not fully integrated being, and because we can't always internalize, we sometimes don't know how to externalize, because we didn't process this within us. The whole world is a mirage, is our mirror. That's what it means. And there's so many aspects of love that we haven't even yet begun to embrace yet. Imagine yourself living as a complete master on this plane of existence. How would that look? Visualize it. Ask yourself, how does me being a master in this physical plane even look like? We talk about self-mastery, but what do you envision? I have my own vision of how that looks like. And all the decisions and choices I'm making, there are steps that need to be in alignment with that vision. Sometimes people say, you're too strict. No, I'm not. I'm dedicated. I'm directed. I'm focused on that because I know what it means for me, and that's important, and that's self-love. On this journey towards it, not like it's a fixed goal, but it's a vision that's always there. It's always steady. And on this journey, there's steps that are revealed to me. There's something to unburden, to let go, to become more aligned with, to release. It's just that when you are aligning yourself with that and making those choices based on self-love, these things will be revealed to you. When not, you know, they say when you don't know your shadow, it has the will to govern you, to dominate you. You gotta know your shadow. And when you do that conscious clearing, when you do your self approach with full awareness, that everything will begin to illuminate. The thing is that I've noticed that a lot of people who try to be good in their spirituality and want to do good, a lot of times what they do is, sometimes it's not always easy to feel all the feelings, right? You gotta be really master of feeling. That's what it is. You know, you gotta master all your bodies, emotional as well. You can't just bypass one body and say, now I'm a master. You can't just be master of the mental. You can't just be master of the physical. You can't just be master of the emotional, because you have all these bodies, and you're really fully a master when you master all the realms, all the elements, all the levels of your beingness. So I noticed that a lot of beings, what they do is, sometimes the feeling level is because they still have a lot of emotional trauma and things trapped in their emotional bodies, and they're not feeling ready somehow to process that, or they're not even seeing it, or they're not willing to see it. Sometimes they rather bypass the emotional body and pick another direction. But let me tell you, bypassing the emotional body will not do any good, because it will be like an infinite loop. Again, self-love, as I said, addressing all levels, full deep acceptance of every layer, every aspect, but always turning everything that is back to you. Everything is a mirage. So when you find yourself, let's say, defending or describing something to somebody else, turn that always back inwards towards you. I always do that. It's the self-projection technique. What am I actually speaking and communicating to myself? Most people don't do that. They just write something or express something and put it out to the other person. How many people are actually walking the mastery well enough to always reflect those words, or to read through them again and read them as they're reading them to themselves? Let's say you have a tantrum and you're saying to somebody, oh, but I still want this. Can you hear me? Do you hear me? I just really want that. I want that. Can you hear me? What you're actually saying is you're saying this to yourself. You're asking yourself, do you hear me? You know, I'm ready to release that. I want this. I desire this. And it's like you're begging yourself. You're not begging the other person, and you don't need to beg. Again, moving deeper into self-love. Love does not need to beg. It's always there. And when we have this aware part of us, this part will always show us these things. It will reveal everything. And like I said, to know your shadow means to know all the aspects of your being. You cannot bypass, you know, to be really neutral in true self-love and unconditional divine love towards all life and creation means that first and foremost, you really have to become confronted. You need to be confrontational. You cannot fear the unknown. You cannot fear confrontation. Again, you know, lacking self-mastery. You got to see what's in front of you. And a lot of times we want something, but we're not yet willing to dive deep enough to go into that energy space. Just recently, somebody sent me the article on being a mystic. And, you know, there's a lot of female goddesses that empower this energy, and men really wanting to be part of that energy, but they're not willing to do the dance in co-creation with them. So there was this sentence that hit the spot with me, because it said, you know, everybody loves the magic, but not everybody yet is willing to go into the mystery. Because I experienced this in my life. You know, people come and they say, wow, you live such a magical life, and it's so simple, and this and that. And they want to be part of it, but they can't, because they don't want to let go of all the old and the baggages and the projections and the filters, and this is where the inner work begins. And they're afraid of the unknown. How will you live like this? How are you going to support yourself? Oh, I got to make a living, and all these things. Again, self-love, you know, trusting source. You are source. You are here to express yourself. Every time we have that tantrum, every time we have that defense mechanism, when we project these feelings towards others, what we need to do is reflect them back to us and ask ourselves always the same question. How can I move even deeper into self-love? How can I embrace more of me? In complete compassion, in complete acceptance. Let's say you're a very aware being and you find yourself crying, and a part of you says, why are you crying? You're supposed to know so much already. You're supposed to know better. Again, judgment, guilt. It doesn't matter how aware we are. We cannot bypass our emotional side. We cannot bypass the mental. We cannot bypass the physical. We are here to master all as one. And when we do this, we can only do this through deep and complete and utter self-love. And as we do so, like I said, it's a journey. And we cannot bypass or skip steps, because we're not going to grow and advance from that step onto the next one. We're always going to stay on that chapter as long as we really master it. And then we're going to take the next step. So let's now take the example of being an Ascension pioneer and sometimes overly giving. And let's take a look at the focus of being in service. A lot of times there was a lot of dogma in this word called sacrifice, and being of service through sacrifice. And you're actually negating yourself and depriving yourself in your life in order to serve the greater whole. When you truly serve the greater whole, you don't deprive yourself, you don't sacrifice yourself. You do make the sacrifice, which means dedicating to that direction, which you choose as a life of service, as an ancient soul who's here to show the way. But that doesn't mean at the expense of something. So let's say somebody wants something of you and you really don't feel it completely, but you say, okay, I'm going to do it so that I please this person, or that I engage in this to make them happy. This is pleasing. This is always wanting to be there for somebody else. This is always thinking, okay, but because I'm here to serve. Yes, you are, but in a very unique way that also has to bring you joy. You know, it doesn't mean that now you're going to have to give yourself up. If something doesn't match, and feel in your true feeling, because we so many times ask for guidance. Come on, source, show me, spirit, show me. And we don't recognize guidance is in the feelings, and the feelings are the part of us that doesn't always make physical, logical sense, but it's there and it's felt, and you cannot do anything else about it but to embrace it. That's self-love. Embrace the feelings, they speak to you. And so what happens is we sometimes feed ourselves these excuses. Yeah, but I'm going to do this because I'm here to serve. And so many times we postpone our own inner bliss and our own desires because we have this filter that says, but I'm only here to serve. But what does that really mean? We got to ask ourselves this question through self-love. Okay, I serve, but how do I serve deeply through self-love? How can I embrace being of service to the aspect that brings me well-being, that brings me joy and passion? This old dogmatic perspective about being in sacrifice and these things that you're going to need to sacrifice your life in order to be of service. Because you are already the service. Your energy, it influences everybody. Just when you come into contact. Recently I had this discussion with a companion through a session. And she said to me, wow, there's this person in the neighborhood and they just show up and they just light up the place. And I said, well, you're the same. And how many times do we notice this in other people? And yet we're not still really clearly accepting this within ourselves. Again, it comes back to self-love. And everything that we really do see outside of us already, it's already there. It's just waiting for us to acknowledge it. And how much we still have those patterns of because we think of service, we can't, sometimes we misplace this for being a giver. To be of service means to radiate light. It's not the same as constantly giving and giving and giving and giving and giving until you empty out. True service is overflowing. It means that you allow yourself to be so much empowered through self-love that you always overflow with light. There's always infinite amount. When you give in that old perspective that sometimes can be very dogmatic, you can empty yourself out. You can unbalance yourself. And what happens is you give out of an empty space. How will you give when you're all like, ow, everything hurts, but it's okay. I'm here to serve. I'm still going to give that. Oh, I take my finger, take my left arm, take everything. That's not true service. That's sacrifice. That it's not really even true divine sacrifice. Divine sacrifice really means that a being of illumination comes to share that light with those who have forgotten that they are also from that illuminated light. And that's all that it means. So what happened to me this weekend is just before solstice I went for this run and I had this releasing day and I just found this path that led up the hill, and when I have these weird experiences I just know there's something there for me. And I said, Spirit, show me something, and then I stopped in front of the tree and there were these huge markings on the tree. It was like carved, and I just stared at it because it was such a clear message and I recognized it right away. So on the tree there was this angelic being. It was literally a being in a garment with a halo, and there was like this arrow that pointed towards the initial set AP, and for me that was like, ooh, Ascension Pioneers. At the bottom it felt like the being is sort of like there was this cutoff, it was like from the higher and the lower perspectives. The bottom part was like cut off, and the lower part pointed towards the initials that said BS. So instantly it was like, ooh, belief system. And the second word that came was like, ooh, bodhisattva, which means illuminated being. And because there was this cutoff, it was an instant message that said our true purpose as an Ascension Pioneers is not just that which we think of us as our focus. For me, let's say at this time, being Ascension Pioneers and my work around it. But the true purpose is to be that bodhisattva. But what prevents it sometimes, that creates this cutoff, is the belief system. And the belief system says, no, your physical doesn't matter. You're here to, to exist on those levels. But we actually confuse this in our mind, because to be of the higher service doesn't mean that you're always in giving through that old and separating yourself from your own physical well-beingness, because a lot of people are still in that victim mode and rescue mentality, which is not true service. And our true service as Ascension Pioneers, as illuminated beings, as volunteer souls, whatever you may wish to call it, does matter not, is to be that bodhisattva without belief systems. BS always stands for belief system. And it was such a clear message, and it was obvious. And there was also numbers carved in. There was one at the bottom that was number 4, and then towards the top it was number 5 in Roman letters, numbers. So number 4 is the heart chakra. So this is the essence of us that always connects our lower chakras and higher chakras, and this is where we really connect all these basic principles. But then when we do so, we can move on to a higher heart. So I feel the message was about the higher heart, It's about this is where, you know, the epicenter of our beingness is, and this is our true service. And it's a journey because we're always going to have more, and more is going to fall off, so we can embrace more of this higher aspect of our service. Not the doingness, which is a very small percentage. You know, we might be focused on that, but it's just one tiny percentage. We, the beingness, the illuminated beingness, we are the purpose, because a lot of times there are these interwoven energies that we don't even see how we influence each other until sometimes Spirit shows us. So how many times we make that disconnect because we say, oh, you know, my physical well-being doesn't matter because I'm here to always make everybody else happy and shiny. I'm this infinite supply of the inner sunlight, of the solar logos, of divine feminine essence, and you want to give it to everybody. You want to share with everybody how beautiful life can be because you know that mastery, you know you have that inner mystic. But the thing is, you're here to show, not give of that source. The moment we do that, we start emptying out. The moment when we are just in that overflowing, we never empty out because we're tapping into the infinite. But when we do that, we're starting to tap into the resources that are more from that attached part and those beliefs that continue to feed that, you know, I'm a giver, I'm a giver, I'm a giver. How many of us still have that, ooh, I'm afraid to receive? I know a lot of beautiful souls, ancient souls, who still cannot really fully receive. And I'm one of them because I still find myself sometimes, you know, when we really are honest with our inner contractions, that's when the work takes place. That's when magic takes place. Because when you know your, like I said, your shadow and your tiny contractions, that's when you can master them, or they will start to dominate you. And when there's something coming towards you unconditionally, and it's there for you to receive and welcome, and that you're worthy, and just because you're being, not that you now additionally need to give and give and give and create these loop cycles when you're turning around and spinning like a hamster in a wheel. Again, you see, there's so much to master. There's so much more love to embrace. We're so much more. And because of that, sometimes we create circumstances when we feel that we're not getting what we really desire. And this is not the physical things. I'm talking about the service that we really wish to bring through in our unique way and form. And sometimes we feel it's not happening again because there's a part of us that continues to feed these old stories that we're not worthy and we cannot imagine it. We need to learn to imagine it. And then, like I said in the beginning, filter your choices by that which is most aligned with that spirit vision. That's it. It really is that simple. So in the new year to come, I wish to talk more about how to really become the inner magi. Somebody recently asked me to explain what that means to me and all of that. And to be a magi, to have so much energy and the capacity to really work with that energy means to first master that energy, because you can either use it to create or destroy. It can be creative or self-destructive. So that's something that we're really going to be moving into in the years to come, and I hope to share more on that subject. And as you know, I got to walk the path myself too, so when I'm in my inner worlds and creativity, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm dedicated to. So then I can pass this on to you so we can thrive together as one ascending community. So just imagine when you think you love yourself to a certain degree, the next step is, how can I love myself even more? How can I move into source? This pure benevolent presence, unconditional, total freedom, love, creativity. How can I move more into that? That's it. So happy holidays, everybody. I hope you had a beautiful solstice experience. I'm going to take a short break during the holidays, so I'll see you after the holidays. And be creative, be fun, be expanding all the time, and I'll talk to you soon. So much love, wisdom, and power. Bye.